you get it once. Okay, so we are looking at introduction to supply chain management. What is supply chain? On your own, if you hear the term supply chain, what comes to your mind? If you hear the term supply chain, what comes to your mind? Apart from the definition, your own understanding of supply chain, I want your understanding, not the textbook definition. Can anyone help? Elizabeth, Elizabeth Sapon, you raise your hand.
All right, thank you, sir. Please, to my understanding, I think supply chain is a channel that maybe I will say, or means whereby we always make sure that we get items and logistics to work, or to ensure that always we have the needed items or logistics to work, that we might not go shortage, neither will we also overuse or have excess for distraction. That's the
Okay,
little that I can say. Thank you, sir.
welcome. Then, Patience.
Okay, sir. To my understanding, I would say supply chain is the process of managing our commodity, that is consumable and non-consumable commodities in our health facility. How we are going to manage them so that at the end of the day, we will not fall short in a particular commodity that will affect our work. Thank you.
Okay, Hanifa. Hanifa.
Hello.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Please, I think it's a way or means where products are being distributed to its desired destination.
Can you speak louder?
Please, I said it's a way or means whereby products are being distributed to its desired destination.
Okay. So let us look at how supply chain has been defined by the experts. It says the supply chain management encompasses the planning and management of all activities involved in sourcing and procurement and all logistics management activities. Okay. And it is also includes coordination and collaboration with channel partners, which can be suppliers, intermediaries, third-party service providers, and customers. So if we are to break down this definition, what it means that we're talking about managerial practice, okay, which involves planning. So when it comes to supply chain, you need to what? Plan. You need to plan. And when you talk of planning, you need to first identify a need. Okay, that you first identify a need, then you decide how you are going to get that need, taking into consideration sourcing and procurement. What is the meaning of sourcing? You source when you cannot perform that task in-house. So it is like contacting external, you contacting external agency or agent or somebody to do it for you because you don't have control over, or you don't have the capacity or to procure the item. And then when you talk of procurement is you going out there, but we procure goods and services as well. So you either source, or sourcing mean that you're looking for people or organizations that have the capacity to supply or deliver the item that you are requesting, or you do it yourself by going out there or performing the task. And we talk about and all the logistics management activities. When we talk of logistics, okay, sometimes anytime we use these words that, oh, we don't have the needed logistics to work. Okay, fine. English is dynamic. So, but I wouldn't use it because when you talk of logistics in supply chain, we are looking at the transportation aspect of it. Okay, how the item distribution, how the items are transported to the final destination. That's why we talk about all the logistics management activities. When we talk of the logistics management activities, we're talking about storage, we're talking about warehousing, we're talking about um, distribution, we're looking at transportation, and when we talk of logistics management, we have so many ways of transporting goods. So you are now deciding, how am I going to do it? Am I going to use rail? Am I use road? Am I using air? Am I using the sea? All these ones you need to, and then whether you are also outsourcing logistics or you are doing it out yourself. So it also includes coordination and collaboration with channel partners. So here, when it comes to supply chain management, it's more of collaboration. It's a collaborative effort. It's not one person doing it or one entity. If you want to do it alone, then you cannot succeed because you fall on other people or other organizations to be able to deliver. And these collaborators are partners. So we can talk of suppliers, talk of intermediaries, we talk about third-party service providers and customers. These are all third-party service providers. We outsource them. So when it comes to supply chain, you realize that it's not one function. It has a lot of functions. It has a lot of what that is why we call it a chain. And when you look at a chain, you have a chain is more of interconnected. A chain is more of interconnected objects that are interconnected. So the chain that the necklace that we wear, some we call a chain. You see that they are interconnected series of. So the supply chain is more of activities, different activities or series of activities that are interconnected. And so here we're talking about suppliers, we're talking about intermediaries, and then we can talk about third parties or uh, customers. So let us define what supply chain management is. Saying that is the flow of goods and services, which includes all the processes that transform raw materials into final products. It involves the active streamlining of a business supply side activity to maximize customer value and gain a competitive advantage in the marketplace. So what this definition means is almost like the first one that we talked about. We're talking about management of the flow of goods and services. And this includes all the processes that transform raw materials into final product. So what are the processes that transform raw materials into final products? So here we have the components, the various parts. So we can start from suppliers, we can go to manufacturers, we can talk about distributors, then we can talk about the customer, who is the final consumer, and then the most important component of supply chain. So realize that, and before goods are supplied, before we get one item, the processes, it goes through a lot of processes, a lot of activities take place for us to get whatever item we are getting or whatever items we get. And that's what supply chain is all about. It means that we're talking about series of activities, which is controlled by a lot of, let's say, people. Can talk about components, can talk about functions. So it's not an isolated activity. You always have a lot of people taking part when it comes to supply chain. For what we've done, for what I have said, any question, any contribution? Please, you can raise your. Someone has raised their hand. Please, you can talk.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Please, can you take the components again?
Hello, you said something. Hello? Can you repeat what you said? The one who just spoke. Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yes, Mariama.
Sorry, it's muted. Sir, I was saying if you can please take the components again.
The components, you get there.
Yes, you said I heard of supplier.
I just made mention of them, but we would treat the component. I get what I'm saying. So I made mention of the supplier. I talked about the manufacturer. I talked about intermediaries, and then the customer. But we are going to treat each of one of them. Mariam, are you okay? So let us look at the stages in supply chain. One is information flow. And this stage of supply chain involves transmitting orders and updating the status of delivery. So here, what it means is that if information flow, we talk of involve transmitting orders. This is it. In your outfit, in your department, you may identify a need. Like if you identify a need, a request, and you don't send it, you won't get it. So once you identify a need, you transmit it. You send it to the appropriate quarters that I may need item A or B. And then they will order or deliver it. And then one of the things is that when it comes to information, you are updating the status of delivery. If I'm sending something to you, normally most organizations, I had opportunity of working with one of at least I've worked with two well-established institutions like Ghana Telecom and then Ghana Manganese before, and I know how their supply chain system work. The two institutions, for instance, Vodafone, if I apply for when you request for an item, once I request, it goes to my boss. My boss will approve it. It gets to stores. Anytime I open my system, whatever it has gotten to, once the items are dispatched, you know that the items have been dispatched, this quantity, this quantity have been dispatched to your outfit. The moment it gets there and they bring you the invoice, you are supposed to go into the system and receive. Once you pick the invoice and you don't receive it into the system, it means that you haven't received an item. Immediately a call will come that have you received the item? And if you didn't also take time, you'll be queried. Once you receive it, you go into the system, you enter, I have received these items, then you receive it into the store electronically. So wherever somebody sits, the person knows whatever is happening in the system. So everybody is able to know that you have this quantity sitting at the stores. So when you are in your office and you need a particular item, let's say you need gloves, once you go into the system, the information is there. Maybe quantity 0, maybe quantity 5. If it is 0 quantity, you know that you don't have that particular item. Or that particular item might not be available, but you may have alternative. All these things are stated. That is what we talk about, the information flow. So information from the initiator who requests for the item up to the supplier, the one supplying the item, you always have information. The next stage is a product flow. It involves the movement of goods from a supplier to a customer, as well as any customer returns or service need. What is product flow? Movements of goods from supplier to a customer. So you may be the customer. In your office, you request for an item. Then the storekeeper being the supplier will deliver the item to you. And then when we talk of customer returns, we are looking at items that we send it. That's the reverse, the reverse flow. When the item is damaged or it has become obsolete. Sometimes the item is expired or it's just a matter of recall. There are times that the items, they are not expired, they are not damaged or obsolete, but then they'll just tell that return these items for probably onwards distribution to other places. That's what we call the returns stock. We call that one. And then when you talk about customer returns, that is when customers pick item and then they return them. In the hospital, you don't normally experience that. There are a few instances where patients become maybe allergic to certain drugs and then they return them. Apart from that, you don't normally experience returns. So in this case, you don't deal with customers, you deal with patients or you deal with clients. So we can refer the customer returns, we can say the client return or patient returns, which you don't normally experience. Do you experience return? There are a few instances where customers return the item because they are allergic to it, or maybe you've given them more than they need. So in the hospitals, we don't normally, but then normally you return expired drugs, you return obsolete items to the stores. And when you return them, they classify them as customer returns. Then we have the financial flow of funds or money, consists of credit terms, payment schedules, and consignment and title ownership arrangement. So when we talk of consists of credit terms, some of the items, when you request for them, you need to pay them upfront, true or false? Some of them, when you request, you pay them upfront. Others, you are given credit limit. Maybe they will supply it. Anytime you are going for new consignment, you pay for the previous stock before you are given. How do you do yours? Hello? Okay, so we're talking about payment
Hi.
schedule. Yes. Okay, Regina.
So, good afternoon.
Good
Uh,
afternoon.
about the supply chain system for we at the chips, we request drafts through the RMS,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
the payment is also done through like we pay through the IGF.
Okay.
So we don't normally deals with it like going to store to buy something like cash in
Yeah.
before. So like drugs will be supplied to us, then we work and then we service the drugs for the client, and then later we pay through the IGF.
Yes.
That is how our
So,
supply chain.
so what I'm asking is that if you've not settled the previous bill, are you giving another? Will they give you another if the previous one
We
has
haven't
been
had
paid?
we haven't had such an issue, but we because we use the NHIS to do the payment, the services, they pay.
They will do it.
We use the NHIS
Yes, to pay.
uh-huh, to
Is it
pay.
all the
So
drug? Is
as
it all the
when
items
the
that are
NHIS
covered
will
by?
pay to them,
Is it all the items that are covered by NHIS?
non-drugs like this, mostly yes, because NHIS has to pay for services. Then the
Okay.
services it includes non-drugs and other stuff, so they do pay.
So it takes care of everything.
Yes, those that
Okay.
it is covered by NHIS, they do pay.
Okay. Okay.
Then there are some too that we pay through the IGF to the directorates.
Okay. Thank you very much. And then we have the payment schedules. The payment schedules normally, when they supply you the items, they give you the schedule when you're supposed to make what do you call it, payments. And then consignment and title ownership arrangement. When you talk of title ownership in business, especially in business law, that is very, very important when it comes to title ownership. When we say title, okay, that is title ownership. That is the item. Okay, we consider the goods. Somebody asked to say that I don't have title to the goods. It means that he doesn't have that right of ownership. Okay, so when there's ownership, what do you call it? When is ownership transferred to client? At what point in time can you say that I own these goods or services? So when it comes to the financial, maybe flow or the financial act, it will tell you when ownership passes. Maybe after you have finished paying. Once you haven't finished paying, you don't have title to whatever supplies that you have, and that the supplier or the owner can come for it at any time once you haven't made payment. And once you make payment, there was also a way to transfer title. Probably there should be documentation. Each party must sign a portion to signify that ownership has been transferred. And you say, and all these things must be arranged when it comes to. So the another, let us now look at the components of a supply chain. What is the meaning of the word component? What is the meaning of the term component? Hello? When you say component, what is the meaning? You know, one of the reasons why, Lizzie, just a minute. One of the reasons why, this is what you have to try. For you to understand a subject, there's something we call the heading or the topic sentence. Anytime you pick a book and you want to learn the topic, try and get the meaning of the words. For instance, component or supply chain. If you don't understand component, okay, you don't get the meaning of component. You do chew and pour, but you wouldn't understand. So component supply chain ABC, then you talk about it, but you wouldn't understand it. So we need to get the meaning of components before we proceed. So Lizzie, can you give me the meaning of component or supply chain? Your hand was
All
up.
right. All right, thank you, sir. Please, to my understanding, I think what supply
You
chain
think,
entails.
you think.
What? Okay, it means what
Okay,
something entails. Components means what it
okay,
entails.
okay. The
So
parts.
components of supply chain means what goes into supply chain or
Yeah,
what really supply chain entails.
yeah. So we can talk about the parts. When we talk of components, we talk of components, we're talking about the parts, what the things that make up supply chain. When we talk of supply chain, what constitute the chain? And one, we're saying that the customer or patient, in your case, we have to use patient because you don't deal with customers. And we're saying that the patient or the customer or customers are arguably the most important component of the supply chain. They are the only source of revenue for the entire supply chain. So when you talk of the customer, you're saying or the patient, you are a midwife because of the patient or because they're the expectant mother. Do you call pregnant women, you call all of them patient, or what do you classify? How do you classify them? Am I talking to midwives?
Yes,
Hello.
Yeah, we
sir.
call
Yes,
them
please.
Yes,
clients.
sir.
We call them
You call them
clients.
clients.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Please, you are talking to midwives.
Okay. Because I always want to get it right. I want to get the terms right so that I don't confuse it. So the client, we're saying that the client is the most important uh, component of the supply chain. Why? Because without them, there will be nothing like supply chain. Without a client, there will be nothing like a midwife. True or false? So we say that they are the reason why supply chain exists. And they are also the source of revenue for the entire supply chain. So the drugs, you know how drugs, the chain, how drugs are manufactured, starting from the supplier to Mother Earth, from where the raw materials are picked. We don't even know. We only see them on the item that these are the ingredients. How they got the ingredients or how they get ingredients to prepare the items, we don't know. So we're saying that all these items from the farmer's end or from the explorer's end up to manufacturing, you realize that you incur a lot of cost. The cost you incur, the client is the final payer, is the client who pays for the cost of the entire supply chain. So once you take one paracetamol, you have paid for the entire cost. The driver who transported the item, the manufacturer, the security man's salary, everything, you are the one paying for it because they've added all the cost to it. And that's why in supply chain, we see the customer or the client as the most important component. Then from the customer, we come to the distributor. It's through the distributor that we get access to the products that we have. Because you and I, we don't know the manufacturers of even where the factories are located. We don't know where factories that the items we use, we don't know where they are manufactured. We don't even know where those factories are situated. Sometimes we see it through writing, but it is through the distributor that we get access to all the items. And when you talk of distributors, it refers to intermediaries within the supply chain. And they include wholesalers, retailers, and agents of all kinds. So these intermediaries serve as link between the manufacturer of the product and the consumers of the product. And they ensure that information, funds, and product flow within the chain. So the distributor is the one who gives information to the manufacturer. They are often the link, they are always the link between the manufacturer and the consumer. So if we buy item, for instance, you go to a shop to buy an item and then you discover that it is not in good shape and you want to return it, you don't return it to the manufacturer. You don't know the manufacturer. You send it to the distributor. So it is the distributor that can give you information. If things are not going well, it is the distributor. So they are also very important component. The distributor is also an important component of the supply chain. The next important component or the next component of the supply chain is manufacturers. Who are manufacturers? They make the products and they transform raw materials or input into useful finished products. So we all know what manufacturers do. They produce the products we have. And why are they part of the chain? They transform raw materials into finished products for us to use. So they are very, very important component of supply chain. And then finally, suppliers. In most organizations, in most large organizations, once they want to buy from you, that's why it is difficult for you to hear that government entity or a big company has purchased maybe items, stolen items. No, because before they buy from you, they want to know who that supplier is. They want to know your supplier, who supplies you the item. What is the source of your supply? You need to trace it. Because if you want to buy anyhow, and you go and buy what do you call it, stolen items. And organization, that is why they always employ qualified people to handle their supply chains. So it is your responsibility, like institution like Garden City. You can't just go on the roadside, you can't go to town on the roadside and buy anything. And even before you buy, before you buy, you need to bring invoices, about 3 of them. They need to verify. So that they want to make sure that the organization is well-established company. The company is paying their taxes before you supply them. So before manufacturers deal with suppliers, they ensure that the supplier has a track record and that whatever supplies they are bringing are from the right source. It's not stolen item. So when it comes to suppliers, they play a very important role in supply chain because the reliability and efficiency of the supply chain depends on a large extent on the reliability and efficiency of these suppliers. So the question is, what is the difference between a distributor and a supplier? Who can give me the difference between a distributor and a supplier? Yes, the question I want to answer. Who can help me? The difference between a distributor and a supplier. Okay, I have 2 people. I have Prisla, Akron. Prisla.
Okay, sir. So a distributor um gives out finished products, but supplier gives out raw materials.
But you know that in most cases we what do you call it? Use them interchangeably.
Yes.
So sometimes we are unable to um, make clear distinction between a supplier and a distributor. So a distributor deals with finished products, okay, while suppliers deal with raw material. Any other explanation? Okay. So we are done with the components of supply chain, and we have four components of supply chain, namely the client in our case or the customer. We can talk about the distributor, the manufacturer, and then supplies. Jennifer, Sana, I've seen your hand up.
So, please, with the difference, can you also say that the distributor, as you said, serve as a link between the manufacturer and the consumer, whilst the supplier works between the manufacturer and then and um the supplier, like he provides the manufacturer with only raw materials, while
Yeah.
the distributor provides serve as a link between them.
The distributor serves as a link between the manufacturer and the consumer.
And the consumer.
Normally, they distribute finished products,
Yes.
whereas the suppliers deal with raw materials. In supply chain, okay, a supplier can also mean a service provider. Do you know that? So when you say a supplier, it can be a service provider. Somebody offering you maybe IT services, somebody servicing your equipments and other things, because normally when they come with they also provide the raw materials and other things for servicing and other. So sometimes when we talk of, we can talk about contractors, we can talk about suppliers. Sometimes you use them interchangeably depending on the situation and then or the context. So normally, in English, we often talk about contextual meaning. Contextual meaning is very, very important. Whatever you are saying could mean different thing and a different context. Okay, so the context under which you find yourself, you can use them interchangeably. But for supply chain, we normally see that the distributor distribute the finished product while the suppliers, they deal with raw materials. So in the facilities, in the hospitals, we normally use the word supplier for those who supply us with items. Is it right? Are they right to say that? Even though it's a finished product. Hello? Okay. Since no one is talking, let's move to objectives of supply chain. One of the objectives, we have two major objectives for supply chain. One is to create the most value for the customer. Can someone explain this point? Creating the most value for the customer as one of the objectives of supply chain. Who can help me with this? Hello? From the onset, I said that our lectures today should be interactive, but the interaction is not coming as I want. Okay, Elizabeth.
Okay. To my understanding, I think to create the most value for the customer means always our focus on our clients or our patients or our customers. And we always target what we think or from our relationship with them. No, we always target that we serve them right to their satisfaction. So, for instance, if maybe we realize that our clients are more interested in having blue pens, we will concentrate much on making blue pens more available than maybe black or green pen. So to create the most value for what they really cherish, what they really value, what they really need is what we really think of when we come of distributing or supplying what they really need.
Okay. Okay, so when you talk of creating the most value for the customer, let us pick raw material. I want a particular, like sometimes somebody will say that a clay, okay, in the hands of the potter knows the best what they can do with the clay. But to you, who is not the potter, you don't know how to weave the pot. If you get a clay, it's a waste. So realize that when it comes to supply chain, all the components that we have talked about, they pick the raw material that when it is given to us is of no use. And then through the various components, the raw material is created or is converted into something of great value. So that is what the supply chain does. What it does is that they try to create something valuable out of nothing. So you pick raw material. Sometimes some of the raw material, like when you go to manganese, for instance, if you pick the manganese one, they look like black stone. If you pick one, nobody will do you anything because they know that that manganese that you have picked, you can't do anything with it. It's valueless unless it has gone through processes, unless it has been transformed into something meaningful. At the same time, if you go to maybe Anglo Gold and you pick a gold of that size, they will not allow you to go because already that gold is valued. Because when you see the ore, okay, the ore with your naked eyes, you might think that it's of no value unless it goes through some processes. That's why we're saying that supply chain creates the most value for the customer through the process, through um, the what do you call it, the components. When they come together, they try to create something of a value using the raw material. Then to provide a customer with the most convenient at the least cost. Imagine that anytime we needed to buy something, we are to go to, let's say, the manufacturer. You need one blister of paracetamol, and you are supposed to go to Letab or M&G or maybe Kinapharma. You can see the inconvenience that a lot of people will go through. But through supply chain, we are able to get these items at our convenience at the least cost. So if you were to buy these items yourself, each item you need to import it. One, maybe you want to buy one pair of shoes and you always order it online. You know, the one you order it, even Alibaba, when you order, you need to buy certain quantity before they deliver. Other than that, they feel that it is not cost effective to deal in just one item. So what supply chain does is that it provides the customer with the most convenience at the least cost. So what this means is that through supply chain, we are able to get the items at our doorsteps and then at a cheaper price. So let us look at the functions of supply chain. Please, do you understand what we are doing?
Yes,
Yes,
Please,
sir.
do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay,
We
sir.
do.
We are following.
Yes, sir.
okay. So because if I teach and you don't understand, then it's you have to prompt me. Some say they understand. Those who don't understand, please don't feel shy. You've paid. Okay, that is why I'm here. You've paid for the service that I'm rendering you. And the most important thing is you getting the understanding. So if you don't understand, don't feel shy. Just raise your hand and let me go back and explain it to you. That is why I'm here. So let us look at the functions of supply chain. One of the functions, when you say the function of something, what is it? Functions of supply chain. Who can give me the meaning of the word function? Mm, functions of supply chain. Who can give me the meaning of the word function? Who can give me? I'm listening. Okay, Elizabeth,
Sir, please, the work that it does or its uses.
you said,
The work that it does.
okay, okay, it function. So one, the supply chain plays a purchasing function. And when we talk of purchasing function, what it means is this, that is procuring goods and services for an organization. So the purchasing is the first function of supply chain management, and it pertains to procuring raw materials and other resources that are essential for the delivery of quality health care. And then it requires coordination with suppliers in order for delivery to arrive without any potential delay. So this function is what we are all used to. Okay, when you hear supply chain, when you hear procurement, we think that their function is to, though they have other functions they play, other functions, but then we tend to know only the purchasing function, that is procuring of goods and then services for the organization. And this function requires coordination with suppliers so that delivery can arrive on time. When you look at the purchasing function, it involves a lot. You see, this aspect of supply chain needs, what do you call it, some level-headedness. You can't just go and procure just for the sake of procuring. A lot of activities, a lot of research, a lot of expediting come in there. You need to be careful so that you get the best. Because in supply chain, we say that your input affects your output. Even in examination, even in learning, your input affects your output. If you learn very hard, you are able to, at least, even if you don't get 100, you know that you're going to get quite good, quite a good mark. So you don't normally uh, worry when you learn. If you don't learn, that is where you begin to be worried. And so this aspect requires coordination, because after purchasing the item, you need to deliver. So you need to make sure that this component or this function of supply chain is discharged dutifully, is done properly. Then we talk about the operations aspect of supply chain. Within the supply chain, the operation team engages in demand planning and forecasting. when it comes to demand planning and forecasting in your facility, as somebody, when we started, we're talking about supply chain, somebody was telling that it's also to ensure that you don't understock, neither do you overstock. So that is, you don't run out of stock or you don't overstock your facility. So the operations aspect, they are engaged in demand planning and forecasting. They are able to determine the quantity that will be demanded in the near future. And this one must be done accurately, taking into consideration previous, what do you call it, reports and other things. So in your facility, how do you determine? How do you determine that in the coming days or in coming weeks or months, these are the quantity of items that we require? These quantities, we will need these quantities. How are you able to do it? You do it through planning, demand planning, and forecasting. Cynthia Agbeko, are you talking to us or you are doing your own thing? So in order for the team to be able to properly order material, the organization has to anticipate potential market demand and the number of units that will be demanded to be produced within a timely manner. So the operations aspect, they deal with planning. They look at forecasting. We should be able to, because when you are ordering for items, you don't know tomorrow the number of people, patients who will come, but you are able to envisage, you are able to forecast based on what do you call it, previous years or previous months statistics. And even in your case, sometimes you are able to predict based on the antenatal. Antenatal, are you not? Is it not it? Antenatal, you are able to predict that, okay, based on number of people who have been coming to antenatal, maybe next month, we are likely going to have 10 or 15 deliveries. Are you able to do that?
Yes, sir.
But do you do that? Do you foresee? Do you do those forecasts?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Or
sir.
you don't forecast?
Yes, sir.
We
Do you do
do.
that? You don't? But sometimes you also have emergencies, but all the emergencies are not as many as those that you are able to predict. I want to find out, are you able to determine that this month we are expecting, let's say, 10 births or 15?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And it comes to pass or not?
Sometimes.
It come to pass.
Sometimes if you're expecting 10, you
Sometimes,
get
not
5
all
or
the
6.
time.
That's right.
Sometimes you won't get it, you won't get it accurate, but that's why you have margin of error. In every forecasting, there should be some margin of error, at least 10% low or up. So that is one of the operations. So those within supply chain, this is what they do. They look at the footfall. When we say footfall, we are looking at the number of patients or number of clients who walk into the facility on daily basis. And so somebody may say that as for our facility, on average, we always use the average. On the average, we have maybe, I don't think a facility, apart from Confanoche and then the district hospitals, any facility can record 30 births a day. Is it possible?
Yes,
No.
sir, it is possible.
Which facility?
St. Martin de Porres,
Where?
Western region.
Where is it? Where?
Western.
Western region.
Yes, sir.
But is a district hospital or?
it's not a district hospital, but we can record as much as 45
Beds
beds a day.
a day. Yeah, it might not be district hospital, but for all you know, in the area, it may be the biggest hospital
No,
within
sir,
that entry
there are bigger hospitals around, but
around.
because of the
Which part
service
of
we provide,
Westing? Which part of Westing?
pardon?
Which part of
Nzema,
Western region?
Nzema,
And when you say Nzima, Nzima is a big area. Azim all Azim. Where?
Ekwe, Ekwe,
Okay,
Ekwe.
so it has a time because when you talk of Nzima, it's a vast area. Okay, so the operations aspect of supply chain is able to plan demand and then forecasting, and then also trying to anticipate or establish potential market demand. Another function of the supply chain is logistics, the logistics function. So here, logistics pertains to requirement for coordination. This will call for making local warehouse arrangements and then storage as well. So logistics ensures that the product will reach the endpoint delivery without any hindrances. So in supply chain, when they talk of logistics, we are not talking about equipment. We know that a lot of people say that, oh, we don't have logistics to work. And when you say supply chain, people understand it differently from your point of view because when you talk of logistics, we are talking about the distribution where items get to how the item will get to the final destination, taking into consideration transportation, taking into consideration warehousing, storage facilities. Storage is very, very important. That is one area that sometimes we overlook. And in our part of the world, sometimes we are unable to offer certain services because of storage. For instance, the human organ elsewhere, they harvest human organ and then they store it for transplant. But in our part of the world, we don't do it because we don't have what it takes to store the organ for it to be in the right state. And that one also affects your healthcare, the kind of warehouses we have. Okay. The warehouse, we'll be doing warehousing, storage and warehousing. And realize that when it comes to storage and warehousing, that how items must be arranged in the warehouse, the ventilation, the kind of equipment you require for storage of health commodities, they all affect the quality of the item, how the item is stored. And sometimes the drugs we administer in our facilities, sometimes they become what they call it, impotent. Sometimes they are not potent because of the storage setting, how the items are stored. Sometimes we store them in under conditions that are not allowed, sometimes above the normal temperature and others. So sometimes I'm reluctant buying apple on the roadside. I'm reluctant. When it comes to apples, I don't remember the last time I bought apple from the roadside. You know, apple does not thrive in our environment. When you plant it, it won't grow. Even it grows, it won't bear fruit because and then it grows in a humid what they call temperature, like South Africa and other European countries. So because of that, when you harvest it from that temperature and you bring it to our part of the world and you still sell it in the sun, you know the chemical reaction. If you have tried it, if you have ever purchased apple from the mall, be it Kumasi Mall, any of the malls, Because with the more, right, look at even their vegetables. Sometimes they bring them from South Africa or elsewhere. Once they look at it, they set the temperature, the vehicle that moves the apple from the farm, they set the temperature to be like that of the farm. And normally apples are transported by air. And when they bring it in the aeroplane, it still has that temperature. Immediately from the airport, the car that they will use to pick the apple, the mall, you may have the same temperature. The minute they bring it to the mall, it is put under the same temperature. So you don't have much reaction. And sometimes when you buy apple from the mall, the taste is different from the ones that are sold in the sun. So sometimes this is what supply chain people look at, the temperature, every item, the condition under which it has to be stored. Very, very important, because if you don't do it that way, you change. Sometimes you change the chemical formulation, and there's either chemical reaction and that is why those who sell, if you look at those who sell drinks, those drinks that they put outside, look at the label. You see the label fading. So if the label is fading, then what about the content? The content of the bottle once it is exposed to the sun. So we expose ourselves to a lot of diseases and other things because of the temperature under which items are stored. And every item, in the wisdom of manufacturers, they put the temperature under which that item must be stored on it. And most cases, we don't care. All we care is that I'm buying the item, the temperature, no one cares. And that is why we are falling prey to a lot of diseases and other things because we don't check a lot of things. Then another function of supply chain management is resource management. So production consumes raw materials, technology, time, and labor. All processes need to be efficient and effective, in which this phase will be taken care of by a resource management function team. So this one, when it comes to resource allocation, making sure that you have the right stock at the right time, this is another function of the supply chain. They ensure that materials that are used in production, the kind of technology we require, time and labor. So like the Zoom that we are using, okay, it maybe if the IT want to buy it, if they want to pay, they need to write. It may go through procurement processes before they pay for it. The technology we are using, all the IT equipment that we use in the school, it will go through that procurement processes before it is procured. We are looking at what time? We're talking about labor. Then we're talking about allocation of resources. We make sure that we have accurate some of member school weekdays. Okay, so we have resource allocation. You need to allocate resources in the accurate activity at the right time to optimize the production and reduce cost. So realize that anytime you need item, depending on the case you are going to treat, you require the supply chain or the stocks in your case to deliver the kind of items you need to be able to perform your duties. And anytime these items are not available, you appear to be ineffective Sometimes when you don't have what it takes to work, people tend to think that you are ineffective. And that is the case of our healthcare system. Sometimes you are there, you realize that this case you can't do anything because you need certain equipment to be able to save the patient, but you don't have them. And you sit. Sometimes you think that this sickness shouldn't kill a patient, but due to lack of um, the needed equipment, we are unable to, or resources, we are unable to do it. And we see them slipping away, but you can't do anything. There was nothing you can do. I think there was an
You can
incident
like
about a year or two ago
what I mean is you can like stress. Yeah, me too. I don't like stress. That's what I mean.
in the hello I think in the part of somewhere in the northern part of the country that they said that there was a snake bite, and when they went there, the nurse was there and said the nurse couldn't help them, so they were angry. There was no anti-snake venom. Okay, how could the nurse? But only that sometimes they want you in your training, you are told to improvise. Is that not it? Probably how the person conducted herself might have signaled to them that she was unconcerned, but not that she had what it takes to fix the problem and she did not. She didn't have it. She couldn't solve the problem because there were no equipment, there wasn't any anti snake venom for her to inject the person or something. And then the person died. But at the end of the day, it was the nurse that was blamed. In another facility where they have those things, you get in there, definitely the nurse will administer. No nurse will see, I don't know, but it will be absurd for you to see somebody dying and then you have what it takes to help the person survive and you sit unconcerned. When the person dies, what do you gain? And I know a lot of people, a lot of you feel sad sometimes when you go to work and a client, uh, some of your clients pass away. I know that you go home and you feel sad. I know instances where I know at least two or at least one or two midwives who are keeping babies, who have adopted babies that the mothers died in the course of delivery. Because the person one told me that after delivery, now is about 10 years. So the girl, the baby, the lady, the girl goes to the grandmother. She comes to her, and then later on, she'll go to the grandmother to go and stay with her. Then weekend, she comes. So they are co-parenting. And I know some of you do it just because of the circumstances under which the mother died. So such a midwife wouldn't sit to see a patient dying. But in a situation where you don't have anything, you don't have the equipment, you don't have what it takes to help the person. So the most important thing in supply chain, we talk about equipment. Mm, equipment that we're saying that every army move on their logistics. The equipment they have, the tools they have, make them strong. If you don't have tools, you don't have the needed equipment, you cannot be strong in your health delivery. Your healthcare system will be seen as worse, not because of the personnel, but because of equipment. So most of your challenges come from what you call the logistics, come from supplies. Sometimes you may get the item, you call, they'll tell you, oh, the items are there. We don't have vehicle to transport them. We are waiting for vehicle to bring the item. So realize that they have logistics, problem. And some of the items are not in your facilities because you don't have the needed storage facilities. You don't have the right, what do you call it, warehousing system in place. And because of that, you lack basic equipment to function. Let us look at okay, so having done the functions of supply chain, any question, any contribution before we rush through the benefit of supply chain management? Any question, any contribution? Okay, let's look at the benefit of supply chain management. What do we gain? What is the benefit of supply chain management? One benefit is lower inventories. Who can explain this point for me? Lower inventories. You're saying that one of the benefits of supply chain is lower inventories. Who can explain? Say that when we apply supply chain principles, we get lower. One of the benefits is lower inventory. Who can explain? Hello? Any help? Erica?
So please, I would say that reduce level of goods and services, reduce costs of goods and services.
Yeah, lower inventory. So, okay, so in supply chain, when you say inventory, we are talking about stock. I'm saying that if you apply the supply chain principle, you lower inventories. In supply chain, one of the what do you call objectives of supply chain is to um, get lower inventories. The reason being that inventory takes, in most organizations, inventory takes close to between 30 to 70% of organizations' resources. And you lower inventories because items that you don't need immediately, you don't buy them. When you go to our parents, especially our mothers, someone will have plenty, what do you call, cloth, garment, everything. And sometimes I fight with my mother a lot. And I always tell her that sell all these things and deposit the money at the bank because the day fire, oh, the day of house will catch fire. They will tell me, so I'm praying that the house will catch fire. So no, when it happens or happens to people. So if it happens to you, you are going to lose everything. And this cloth, when you put them, the value, does it increase in value? Sometimes it depreciates. But if you should keep them in the bank, you'd have enough. And that's what some people do. They buy a lot of items that they don't need, and some of them become obsolete. Some expire. The difference between obsolete is that the item become outmoded, not that it is expired or damaged. It is still there, but it becomes irrelevant. You cannot use it because it is out of date, it's outmoded. Okay, so in supply chain, with one of the benefits is that when you employ supply chain, what do you call it, principles, you are able to optimize your inventory. When I talk of optimization, what it means is that you have what in economics they will say equilibrium. Okay, demand meets supply. Okay, so your quantity, the quantity you need, meets the demand. So you don't buy unnecessary items, you don't overstock, neither do you understock. You have, so here we advocate for lower inventories. You don't keep too much. Then higher productivity. If you have enough stock, you don't run out of stock, there is that continuity. Okay, so sorry for the interruption. Seems that it went off. So the higher productivity, and what it means is what it means is that if you have the needed items in place, you you have continuous production, you don't make referrals, unnecessary referrals. And as I was saying, if you keep on referring people every day when they come, you refer them because you don't have item A or B. What will happen is that they won't come there at all because they know that come what may when they come, they will refer you. That is why some people prefer going to. That's why always Konfanoti and other district hospitals are always busy because they feel that when it becomes critical, when the situation becomes critical, definitely Konfanoti will be the final destination. So what people do is that then why don't I go there? And I think now they are beginning to do that. A lot of sessions, you can't go there. It should be a referral center. Okay, sometimes even the polyclinic should be out of Konfanoti so that you don't go there when you are not unless you are referred to Konfanoti before you go there. So that you don't go there with headache and then small ailment. So that they can concentrate on the serious ones. Then shorter lead times. When you talk of a lead time, what is a lead time? In supply chain, when you talk of a lead time, is the period between ordering and receiving. So if I request for an item, let's say I request for paracetamol, and then they tell you that, okay, for this paracetamol, it will take you 2 days to receive it. The lead time is the 2 days. So the period between ordering and receiving. Anytime you order for an item, the time that the item will be supplied, the period in between ordering and receiving is referred to as the lead times. And then another benefit is higher profits. Why higher profits? If we talk about higher profit, what is higher profit in here? When you have enough stock, if you have a strong supply chain, what happens is that you don't run out of stock and there is availability of the needed items. So customers keep on coming or clients keep on coming because they know that after this facility, when I go, I'll get whatever I want. So I will not be referred. So people keep on coming. And then the last one is greater customer loyalty. If we talk about greater customer loyalty, what is it? What is greater customer loyalty here? What it means is that once Josephine, Josephine Double, Josephine Double, you've raised your hand.
Yes, sir. What it means is that when the supply, the things you have are always readily available, and then customers get what they want always. They will continue to reach out to you anytime they need. Yeah,
Okay.
commodity.
If you know how to do station, you know that if I press here,
okay, so that is it. If you talk about greater customer loyalty, customers are loyal to you because anytime they come, they get whatever they want. And so they prefer coming to your facility to other ones. So here, this brings us to an end of our today's lecture. Any contribution, question, observation? Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, any contribution, question, or observation? Bridget.
Sir, please. Mine is an observation. Your voice was a little low today, so it was quite difficult hearing what you were saying. So probably next week, if you can clarify it for us. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other?
Please, sir, can we have the slides?
Yeah, I'll send you the slide. So afterwards, the class reps, you draw my attention, then I'll send it to you. Josephine.
Please, during your lecture, you were taking your time to explain the things. We hope we reach the calculation.
You said, can you come again?
During the lecture, the explanations you were giving, you were taking your time, you were slow, you were okay. We hope when we reach calculations, it will be the same for us so that we're able to get everything clear.
It will be the same. Maybe slower than this.
Thank you.
Victoria.
Wow, thank you, sir.
At least the slides, they have been saying that they will give. There's some of us, we never get slides at all. They will say they will give.
Please, I have told you, please, what did I say? I said that the class rep should contact me. The slides, you said?
But some of I said last time the same thing. They said they will give to the reps, but some of we never get a slide, so we wrote the end of the.
Have I told you before?
No, that's what I'm saying. Last time,
so it's me. I can't speak for others.
Keep quiet.
I can't speak for others. I get what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
So it is me. And I have said that once we are done, let the class reps contact me. Or if you have a common platform, then afterward, that is what I've been doing because most of them, they have those that I have taught, they had a common platform. So after the lectures, I put it there. If I don't put that, they prompt me, then I put it there for you. So that is me, not others. Cecilia. Cecilia. Okay, since you have no more question to ask, I bring our meeting to an end. Or somebody has something to say. Anastasia.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, please, one thing I will observe is that you said you wanted us to contribute during the lectures, but you were quiet alongside. It was because we didn't want to distract the class, so the class was muted. So I'll be glad when you want us to contribute, kindly let us use the emoji, the reaction where you raise our hands, then you call us. Thank
you. Okay. I think that's what you've been doing. So when you raise your hand, then Benedicta.
Yes,
Benedicta.
sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. I would like to say that sometimes when you ask questions, some of us do write it in the chat box. So
Please,
kindly be watching.
can you speak louder?
Sir, please, I'm saying that sometimes when you do ask us questions, some of us do write the answers or the reply in the chat box. So I'll plead with you to be looking at that side too for us.
Okay, okay,
Thank
I hear
you.
you. Okay, okay, I hear you. Okay, so our time is up. We'll meet next week, God willing. So